Hey guys, PoE's here, and today we're going to be discussing the new Path of Exile skill Stormburst, which was just released at the time of recording yesterday. So it's only a 2-day-old skill. It was released with the Fall of Oriath update. There were a couple skills released with that patch, but this is the one that really interested me. It's a channeled lightning explosion spell. So when you use it hooked up to all the supports that I have and some of my gear, this is what it looks like. Hold it, let go, and all the explosions happen. These little balls here, they are piercing projectiles, so they're considered a piercing projectile spell. When you let it go, everything that you've shot off just blows up for improved damage. So the base projectile damage is quite bad, but the ultimate explosion deals 203% more damage in an area effect explosion. So it's kind of an interesting little thing there. So this is, of course, with a lot of cast speed and greater multiple projectile. Let me show you what the skill looks like without all that stuff, although I still do have some extra cast speed. So it's pretty slow and not very impressive when you first get the skill on its own. You really do need other things to get it to work. It's bad if you just use it on its own, but then again, so are most skills. So yeah, there's nothing new there. Really, I would say to get the skill to work, at minimum, you need a lesser multiple projectile support, but ultimately you are going to want a greater multiple projectile. So it actually functions kind of interestingly with the extra projectile things, because notice this. Normally, if you get a greater multiple projectile, something like that, if you're shooting with a bow, it'll spread the arrows out in an arc or something, and kind of like this big spray. In the case of this spell, it just kind of like shoots it out in these machine gun pulses. So let me show you what I mean. See what I mean? They all just come out in this big pulse in sort of a mostly forward trajectory. It's not spread out all over the place. So that's quite handy for dealing lots of damage. So that's why I'm saying you need one of these multiple projectile things to use get the skill working. Now currently, this is a work in progress. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but the build itself is not finished. It's not super endgame. We're working with kind of mid-game stuff. I'm only level 44 at the moment. But with a 4-link, I'm currently using faster cast and added lightning, simply because the spell is so fast and the base damage is so low that doing increased stuff doesn't seem to work that well to me with it. I haven't done the exact math on it, but it just seems like stacking as much added damage onto it works quite well. Now, keep in mind the effectiveness of added damage is only 10%, but again, you're shooting these things off so goddamn fast, and on top of that, it is multiplied by the more at the end by 250%. So you're getting pretty good damage there. So what I'm doing is I'm just stacking on a bunch of damage. Yeah, the added damage from that. I have Wrath running, and I also have Herald of Thunder. Now, ultimately, I don't know if these are the... this is just what I'm using for now. I don't know if this is ultimately what I end up using, like, late game in terms of auras. I'm probably going to swap off to something more defensive for at least one of them. I may even want to be running haste instead, just for extra cast speed, because cast speed seems to work so well with the Stormburst plus any kind of multiple projectile thing. It just seemed to work very synergistically in terms of how it actually speeds the spell up. Also, you really want as much cast speed as possible, just so you can get the orbs to stack up on top of each other and explode. In the long run, I'm considering using slower projectiles just so I can get orbs to stack up more. But if I'm clearing large packs, that's kind of unnecessary. I'll show you what I mean. Because you kind of want them to spread out and kill a bunch of things. Whereas bosses, you want them to stack up on a single person quite a bit. So get out of here. So I may as well kill some people here. I'm also running a lightning golem, which I won't bother summoning yet because it's going to kind of get in the way. Well, you didn't die in a single salvo. I am also using an Orb of Storms, which we'll talk about in a bit after I've kind of demoed the ability a bit. And I just plunked an Orb of Storms down. Go here. Here's a slightly tougher pack that won't die immediately. Now, things that move around a lot, you can end up missing a bit. It's a bit harder to hit stuff than, say, compare it to, say, what's that ability called? A Scorching Ray or something like that. But the damage, again, is pretty impressive. I am actually surprised I got this to work so easily. Like I said, it doesn't work out of the gate. You do need a bit of work. Like at a minimum, I'd say you'd want a 3-link. So when you first get Stormburst, Probably like a lesser multiple projectile, and then maybe, I don't know, one of the blue things there. Incidentally, I don't know if this is the most efficient early blue combination. These aren't bad, and again, there are a number of things that I am considering that might work with Stormburst, but that's kind of more of a long-term thing, and maybe I'll make an updated video later. So Lightning Pen is another option. I think I mentioned slower projectiles possibly is another thing. There's a couple more on-hit type stuff. What was it? I put them on the other page here. Maybe an Innervate, maybe, what is it, Ice Bite, I think is another possible option. So stuff like that, that's just sort of like added damage. It seems to be working for me now. Eventually, I'm going to test out multipliers. So stuff like, since I am a Templar and I'm going to end up getting a bunch of strength anyway, maybe I'll see how Iron Will ends up working out. I don't hold out a lot of hope for that one specifically. Yeah, so let's just get our golem up for extra cast speed. You might want to go, what's the other golem? I think it's the ice golem that increases crit. That could be an option because it worked quite nicely with crit, especially given that I'm running Orb of Storms specifically to proc power charges. So where's my setup here? So I'm running Orb of Storms, I'm running a plunk down, and every time I recast this spell, I get an extra little bolt going off as well. So I'm also running increased critical strike support plus power charges. So basically every time I crit, I get a chance of getting a power charge from Orb of Storm, which is kind of shooting off on its own. And then on top of that, I'm running a chain support as well. I don't know if ultimately I want chain support. What I actually wanted was, I think it's Arcane Surge it's called in there, but I couldn't get a 4-link or basically a 4-link quad blue thing. So chain support is nice for now, but it just may be replaced. We'll see how that works. So yeah, that's just kind of what we're doing with the build here. Let me just run around a bit and we'll go blow some more stuff up so you get an idea of what's going on here a bit more perhaps. But and a curse for now, I'm just running a conductivity for just a little bit of extra damage if I really want to. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, I didn't quite finish that thought. I am surprised that I got it to work this easily. I was kind of worried that it wouldn't actually start to pan out to late game, and the Scorching Ray leveling build I was using would just end up being more efficient. But no, I kind of got it working pretty quickly, so pretty pleased with how this has turned out. It's oh, I should probably show you my skill tree as well. We'll do that in a moment here. So I just kind of clear all these dudes out. It's just satisfying to play too. It's just like this, I don't know, micro grenade machine gun thing with these tiny little explosions. Oh yeah, I also was considering maybe trying out Conk Effect and seeing how that works, etc., etc. But anyway, so let's go into town where it's a bit more safe, and I can show you my skill tree and my rough plan. I'm still in my 40s, so this could change. But for the time being, it's quite tanky. There is not that much actually invested in raw offensive output. It's mostly defensive, and that's kind of, and you're seeing the damage that I'm able to kick out so far. But I kind of went down here for health nodes. I'm probably going to go down here eventually to get this big chunk of health nodes here. So again, mostly defensive stuff as you're seeing, although there's a little bit of offense mixed in with stuff like this. I'm planning eventually to make my way all the way over here for like some extra crit stuff and just all kinds of things that seem to work quite well with the build in terms of what's this thing called here? This is the Shadow. I'll put a link in the description below to my, again, super rough draft for what I'm looking for in terms of a skill build. I wouldn't follow that like exactly, because I'm probably going to change it up a bit as I go along and kind of get more used to it and see how this build ends up scaling into the late game. But like I said, I'm very pleased with how this has turned out so far, and I'm looking to carrying it into the very late game and seeing how it works with the later acts and the map stuff. So anyway, like I said, this has been my personal take on the Storm Burst build. See how it all pans out. Thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, having a lot of fun playing Path of Exile again. See you around.